Navigating Toronto traffic is pure hell, even in winter when it's freezing cold. Subway trains are overcrowded, understaffed and undermaintained, but the $20 billion Ontario line, going from Science Centre in the north to Exhibition Station in the south, aims to fix all of these problems for 400,000 people a day. So let's discuss it in today's episode of Built Up. This is Ontario Line. Architects are saying that this subway line will change the way generations of people commute through the city. The new subway will connect you to more people, places, and opportunities, or at least that's what they say about the new subway line, currently under construction in Toronto, Canada's largest city. Stretching over a length of 10 miles or 16 kilometres, the Ontario Line, named after Canada's province where Toronto is located, will incorporate bridges, heritage preservation projects, and so much more. The project was first announced on April 10, 2019 by the Government of Ontario. The cost of the Ontario Line is going to be about 27 billion Canadian dollars, which is the same as 20 billion US dollars. And this is the price after government contractors got involved. The original project price was set at 10.9 billion Canadian dollars, which is around 8 billion US dollars. Based on the first destinations, the Ontario Line was supposed to be complete by 2027. However, after numerous delays, the government is now hoping the project will be complete by 2031. Now, the owner of the Ontario Line is Metrolinx, a prominent transportation agency operating in Ontario, Canada. Throughout Toronto, there are construction sites and crews are working on the new subway line. It's going to start at Exhibition Place, run directly through the city's downtown area, pass through the East End, and arrive north at Thorncliffe Park and Flemington Park. Throughout the length of the Ontario Line, there will be 15 stations that will connect people and places extremely fast. The Ontario Line will stretch from Liberty Village to Flemington Park. As a result, the line will not only run across various communities, it will also run across different types of tracks. This includes tunnel tracks, elevated tracks, and even above-ground tracks. Since many of the transit stations are located near important commuting routes, the project managers had to come up with ingenious ways to maintain the flow while construction was slowly progressing. That's why they're including platform station entrances along with a temporary bridge for people. And all of this is just at Exhibition Station, one of the many construction sites on the Ontario Line. If we travel a little to the east, we'll notice that crews have begun construction on the Lower Dawn Bridge. Not only will this bridge allow cars to cross, but it will also transport trains across the Dawn River, located right between Corktown and Riverside. While new buildings are being built, they're redeveloping some of the old buildings along the way. After all, the Ontario trails will eventually run right next to GO trains. This might seem like a noble goal, but now they have to expand the tracks to make room for the extra train traffic. If you go near Eastern Avenue, you'll see a rail bridge currently under construction. This is just one of four, along with Queen Street, Dundas Street, as well as Logan Avenue. But this is just the first phase of construction. With the bridge finished, they'll begin working on the station site shortly. The station will have three main entrances. One will be the Queen's Spadina, the other will be King Bathurst, and the third will be known as Osgood Station. And these will not be your average run-of-the-mill modern concrete buildings. They'll be heritage buildings from the 1900s. They're trying to preserve a lot of the monuments along the way so the route doesn't corrode the city's history. Heritage specialist Sheldon Kennedy says that these old buildings are not just prime real estate sites, they're also part of the heritage fabric of Toronto. They're like a window through which people can see how the city developed throughout the decades. And because this is a brand new modern subway, it'll come with state-of-the-art automated electric vehicles. This will give Ontario Line the ability to run about 40 trains every hour, meaning there'll be a new train coming every 90 seconds. So even if you miss one, another is coming in just 90 seconds. This frequency is one of the main reasons Toronto decided to build a new transit line. Now, don't forget to subscribe if you like the video so far. One of Toronto's main problems with public transport is congestion. It's not uncommon to see people packed inside subway trains like sardines in a tin can during rush hour. On top of that, the transit service is understaffed, and in the chaos, poor customer communication is pretty much the norm. But that's not all. Because of poor track maintenance, it's not uncommon for popular transit lines to be closed for several hours during the day. Ontario Line aims to change that by providing modern, fast and reliable transport. Once complete, the Ontario Line is expected to have around 400,000 daily trips, or 388,000 to be exact. That way, the new line will help alleviate some of the congestion at other TTC interchange stations like Bloor Yonge. Some of them will experience as much as 22% less crowds because of the new subway line in Toronto. This translates to 14,000 fewer people during rush hour. But that's not all. Eglinton Station will experience a reduction of 5,000 people during the busiest hour, or around 16%, and Union Station will have reduced crowding by as much as 14%, or 14,000 people. That's because the station's strategic location gives approximately 227,000 people access to the station, if they're willing to walk 10 minutes to the station. The 10-mile stretch, which usually took 70 minutes to complete, will not be covered in something like 30 minutes, slicing travel times in half. The line was built in such a way as to give lower-income residents a cheap commute to their jobs. The 15 stations on Ontario Line will improve access to more than 57,000 jobs, and all of these jobs will be accessible in 45 minutes or less. The Ontario Line will not only help people commute, but it will also help reduce CO2 emissions, simply by taking around 28,000 cars off the road every day. It might not seem like much, but when you consider that every car produces 4.6 tons of CO2 annually, you can see why this line is so environmentally friendly. Now, the 128,800 tons of CO2 emitted from cars every year will be long gone. Overall, this will lead to a reduction in fuel consumption by, are you ready for this, 7.2 million litres every year. This line will also connect numerous transit options. This includes subway lines, LRTs, and even streetcars. In total, the Ontario Line will have 40 transit connections along its path. This way, the journey that would have otherwise taken 30 minutes will now only take a few minutes. During an interview with Metrolinx, Darren Cooney, the Director of Community Engagement, said, "With the city and surrounding area growing so quickly, we're focused on building more transit to make it easier and more affordable to travel across our region. Because the goal of the Ontario Line is to connect and engage with the communities, they've already built 2 community offices. So, if someone from the region has any questions about the project during its construction, they can go to the nearest community office and get updates on the project's progress." One of the community engagement advisors for the project, Lorando Brown, says that their job is to keep the public posted and informed on the progress of the Ontario Line. Simply put, answering questions about safety concerns is one of their main priorities. Now, when it comes to completing the Toronto Line, there are 4 major concerns that people worry will plague the project. The first concern about the Toronto Line was whether or not this project could be completed within budget and on time. Both of those concerns became a reality when the project price ballooned to extraordinary proportions and the project completion date was pushed to 2031. The second concern is that the 90-second trains might be a little too fast for Toronto crowds. People fear that passengers cannot board the smaller trains running on the Ontario lines fast enough. Third, Subway Line 3 Scarborough showed the people of Toronto that harsh winters would affect the elevated tracks along the line. Since the Ontario Line has 4 such elevated tracks, this made people worried the new fast transit system would face old problems. And finally, the fourth concern is that the government will not be able to fit the Ontario Line next to the Lakeshore East Corridor by GO Transit. That's because the modern subway line will need to be added to the 3 already existing overpasses. Now, how the government addresses these issues will determine whether or not the Ontario Line will become just another congested subway or one that alleviates congestion. So, do you think the Ontario Line will finally put an end to Toronto's crowded public transport, or will it only slightly improve congestion? Tell us in the comment section down below. Now, here's another video mega project enthusiasts enjoyed watching. Bye for now.